Why does something funny happen every time we're about to start a show?
Well, because they change stuff all the time. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Over 50, starting over a classic episode. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
He's back.
Yeah.
I thought about the other day on a walk, I should cue up that Aerosmith YouTube video in the background. Is it the Beatles? They do that remake? He's back in the saddle again.
Oh, yeah. I like that
was
one.
that a remake? It's a remake from
Run DMC does a remake of
That's Walk This Way.
Oh, yeah, that's not what it is.
And that's remaking Aerosmith. But Aerosmith, I'm back in the saddle again.
Oh,
as
yeah.
a remake from someone.
Oh, see, I don't know who the remake is.
Maybe I'm wrong. They did. Yeah. It's Come Together as a remake from the Beatles. What the hell are we talking about?
I don't know.
So we got a whole lot going on. I got a lot to share. I want to talk about because I've had a lot of guests on of late. And by the way, guys, we never really talked this through with you, but I obviously have had a lot of guests on movie documentarian recently, Ray Vance, author, Jim Paluch, author. And let me see. I got to see if I can share my screen real quick, because if you want to see these episodes, you can just go to our homepage here. You can see our most current episode right here at any given time. Whoa. And then all podcast episodes are right there. And if you click on that, you come up here. All of them from the very beginning. And they're kind of funny in the beginning. It didn't take us long to hit our stride, though.
No, it didn't. It's fun to look back at some of those covers of those episodes and everything, and some of the pictures of us on there. It's pretty fun. How many episodes do we have in there? Do you know?
You know, I just saw that somewhere today, over 200.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Very amazing. I
like
love
210 or something, you know, because we were doing all those after shows too.
Yeah.
That's why
we loaded up. It's pretty cool.
We really did. And a lot of fun, of fun ones.
No
so let's see here. Do you see my,
I sure do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've had some terrific guests, and going back here, let's see. Jim Paluch is my friend and author of The Depressed Motivational Speaker, and that was our most current. We revisited some other stuff. Dr. Stephen Treziak, Wonder Drug, his latest book, they did Compassionomics before, a fascinating book and interview, because everything that he does is only based on medical studies. He literally must quote 200 medical studies in that book that shows how bringing compassion into the workplace reduces overwhelm, fatigue in your personal relationship. It puts you through the roof there. It just makes your life better in every way.
That was a really great episode. I thought he really packed he really made his point and brought it home. And there was a personal interest in that one for me, because I was all about that, reducing burnout.
Yes.
And he talked a lot about that. It's a huge thing, but that was a great show. Great show. Thank
you. On the right after that, we had Ray Vance and his book, A Road Through Hell, a true story about alcoholism and drug addiction.
Wow.
A new friend. I mean, we stay in contact. I absolutely love that guy. And it truly is a great interview. I highly recommend it. I love the book. The book has a terrific flow to it, so you could get it through there. After that, this is one of my favorite guest episodes ever with Doug Knoll, Overcoming Anger. Love that guy. He is a terrific interview, but he's also a fascinating case. He was a high-powered lawyer, and he left $10 million on the table to pursue his dream of passion, and he started bringing peace intervention into the world's hardest prisons. It's fascinating. You're going to see a common thread with all of these.
Peace intervention. Wow, that sounds interesting.
He took the biggest criminals that, you know, in prisons. They form organically in a class, their class system, with somebody at the top, a lifer at the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
And somebody that
like a caste system. That's
exactly. It's exactly right.
I got
like somebody I would think that would be like, hey, I'm going nowhere the rest of my life, so I'll kill anybody I want. That's what I would think. No, he says it's the opposite. They come to a realization, this is the rest of my life. I want it less violent and more orderly. So he teaches them the tools on how to de-escalate violence and anger. And
thank God there's somebody out there like this.
Dude, it's amazing. That is one of the best interviews ever. I love that guy. I want to revisit with him again too. After that, we did nutrition, metabolism, hormones with expat Elizabeth Sherman. Interesting because I wanted to get a female perspective from a clumsy, dumb guy like me trying to ask those uncomfortable questions about hormones and how women's bodies change. Oh, it's bad from my point of view in that regard. But also she's an expat to Mexico, and the expatriate thing is becoming very big, especially as our property values continue to escalate. You could live in different parts of the world like Mexico. I always say Taiwan, and that's a really bad faux pas. Thailand, I mean. I said that twice on that podcast. Thailand is a big expat destination. I think I think Portugal. We're getting some feedback here in it. My thing just said my internet cable's unstable. I don't know.
I don't hear that at all.
Okay, cool. So that was a very interesting interview in that regard. After that, we went to Eric Christensen. He's a trauma documentarian. Now, he's a documentarian who's done 4 now. He's coming out with a new documentary called Unmasking.
Is that down? I don't see that one. Is that at the bot? Which one is that?
O5O 6.19. You don't see that?
Okay, that's it. Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely great guy. We had a fantastic interview. We've stayed in touch. I just talked to him yesterday. We're going to do a follow-up because we got so in the weeds on all these important subject matters towards the end. And we started talking about parenting being one of the biggest issues in America that nobody can discuss or does discuss. Dude, I think he's going to do a documentary on this. And there's so many angles.
We sure do need that because parenting is at the root of most of the problems that are happening in the world today. Yeah.
Every problem, if you follow it back far enough, it's eventually going to come back to your upbringing. Yeah. So then we did this last one was a follow-up interview with Jim Paluch, author again. And this is talking about just taking small steps to change big habits. It's only a half hour, so a good one, but you're seeing the thread that's all tying these things together. We're all it's the theme of the show. Let's just get a little bit better every day, professionally and personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you've really done a great job of surrounding yourself with very interesting guests here. You're doing a great job of it. Very great to bring on these experts and sharing the wisdom is really what O5O is all about.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And I just noticed that I forgot one. I think that I didn't put it on the website, and it was the interview with Bob Ginsberg, who does the afterlife stuff, and it was about the Netflix documentary on afterlife. It was fascinating.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it is. And I got something I got to share with you along those lines. I shared it with Bob like 2 days ago, and I got good feedback from him. So just briefly, Bob lost his daughter in a tragic accident about almost 20 years ago. And he was just a typical doubter, kind of like a blue collar mentality kind of guy prior to that. But he goes and loses his daughter. Now he's like, what's the afterlife about? And he went on a crusade to reconcile with this, and he interviews mediums and stuff, and so this documentary series, like a 6-part series called Afterlife on Netflix. I watched it twice. It's fascinating, but what's really funny, so he's towards the beginning. He's like in the first 2 or 3 episodes. Him and his foundation, he helps people heal that lose loved ones, and they come out to these retreats with him, and he certifies mediums so that he gives them all of these tests, and 90% don't pass the mustard. Right. Of
course.
Right. And
Harry Houdini was a big thing of his, exposing those mediums. Go ahead.
Oh, right. And I believe 90% are frauds too. I always have, but there's 10%. out there that I know are real, and he certifies them and has them at his retreats. So a big part of the healing process is mediums reaching out. Hey, I'm getting a connection, and they describe it. And, there's this big cathartic thing going on. So that's fascinating. And it's really good. The interview is really good as we get through towards the second half of it. And I'm like, all right, Bob, I got to ask you, there's mental and physical mediums. I'm all about the mental, even though I still believe 90% of those are frauds, but I do believe 10% are straight up. Physical mediums, I believe, are 100% frauds. And
what's the difference? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Physical medium, mental medium.
That's I just glossed over. I didn't think about that. Good question. A mental medium is just like, okay, I'm getting a reading. There's somebody in your past named Fred that, died in a tragic fiery thing, and he wants you to know, blah, blah, blah. A physical medium is the kind, ooh, stuff's levitating. Oh, there's a knock on the wall over here. Oh, I'm spitting out some ectoplasm. This is
ectoplasm.
All seriously. And so,
I know I've heard of all.
In about 2 of the last episodes on that Netflix series, it's about physical mediums. And I was trepidatious about going there with Bob, but I'm like, I go in full on like a bull. I'm like, Bob, I got to ask you about physical mediums. I don't believe any of it. And, because I thought he might toe the company line and, soft shoe it. He's like, yeah, he goes, there's some pretty silly stuff in the second part of the Netflix series. I would say anybody should go watch that Netflix series, Afterlife. There is this blonde lady in the Netherlands that is pulling this whole grift about, every time she gets in a seance, she starts talking first in this deep voice like this, because someone's, a spirit's channeling through her. Right. And then she's talking like this because Bobby, some little kid, and it's always the same two. Mm-hmm. And it's such bull. I mean, it's obvious that it's a total grift. I mean, to me.
Right. I mean, to me too. It's so crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought all that Hollywood stuff was really fun.
Yeah, that is interesting. Fun. It's interesting.
But this is interesting. Just a couple days ago, I ran across, because I'm always into this afterlife stuff, a YouTube video of this. Here's the title. I died and saw 70 years into the future. A near-death experience.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, okay. It is.
70, it's interesting that it's 70. There's biblical numbers are pretty interesting.
Dude, it's on a Christian channel, and it's all
70 is
from
a very
biblical angle.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'd like to hear
took notes on it. Now it's like 20 minutes long, and I literally was skipping through the first 10 minutes because it was just setting up the Christianity stuff. And I always think there's a little conflation that goes on in those. I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes, and I took notes on it to share with you. Okay. Because it's interesting. And we're going to know within a year and a half if any of this starts coming true. Okay, and if it does, we're going to start planning accordingly. Our entire lives by this outline. Okay. So here it is. In 2005, the woman in question here that had the near-death experience, her abusive husband shoots and kills both kids right in front of her, then her, and then himself. Oh, all right. He shot her 6 times, and she has this afterlife experience. She meets Jesus and asks, "Why take my kids?" And I'm really took really bare minimum notes here. I mean, this really went on, and it was very fluffed out. Okay. So she said, "Why take my kids?" Jesus says, "It was their decisions. Their souls who were your children were ready to come home." And he explains that she's not done with life yet, and because she is meant to share. Here are the bulleted items. In 2024, that's just over a year. We'll find out quick. But listen to this. The world banking system, on the verge of collapse, does away with all paper currency, converting everything over to cryptocurrency, which I think is a big leap. in a year, just over a year, because
it's a big leap,
buying in right now. And the world banking system is currently trying to criticize it, ridicule it out of existence so that they can retain power.
Well, hold on a second, because what I'm seeing is that these banking systems are actually trying to bring cryptocurrency into the central banking system so that they can control it. So the way I see it is that if that were to happen, it would happen very quickly, and so because they have to coordinate, and the world powers see crypto as a threat to their own sovereignty, and so the reason they're looking at the central banking is for several reasons. They want to be able to have control of their own sovereignty, and they also want to start tracking. There's this, what the Chinese are doing, the social credit score. It'll be very easy once they control crypto to be able to control social credit scores as well. So this is the globalist way to go. So I see. Keep talking, because she's got some chops here so far, as far as I can see.
Got to tell you, you just added a whole lot of credibility to that for me that filled in gaps I didn't see. So that's awesome. All right. So the second one, the U.S. will implement a social credit system where, that's what you just said, where people are graded on education, criminal record, political affiliation, and other things.
Big.
Wow. Okay. Listen to this one. Everything fully turns around in 2028 when Donald Trump is elected for his second term and does away with the world banking system and brings back paper money. Okay, let's unpack that for a minute. Because first of all, that's saying he's not getting elected in 2024.
Yeah, I heard that. How old is he going to be?
82. I looked it up. He would be 82.
Oh, so Joe Biden's age?
I think he's 81 I thought he was. I thought he was. Really? I thought he was 78. I could, you know what?
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's pretty close to 80 right now. I'm pretty sure.
I thought he was 78, but I'll find out.
But maybe you're right.
79.
Right now, he's 79. The oldest president. He's coming up on being the oldest ever in that office.
Yeah. What it says, 79 years, November 20th, 1942.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I guess he's almost
young whippersnapper in there.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Okay.
But an 82-year-old president that's starting a term is whoa.
I don't think it's a good idea, especially in his state of unhealthiness with his diet.
He does look a little bigger than normal.
Yeah. All right. So this is where things go crazy. Okay. We go way out there.
This is where they go crazy. Okay.
Yeah. I got 4 more points. In 2061, the Great Divide results in the U.S. splitting down the middle without a civil war. The United Northern States and the United Southern States.
Wow.
Yeah. From 2028 to 2063, there's relative stability in the world. Both U.S. territories are invaded by China in 2063, forcing both sides to join with Canada and Mexico in order to survive. The war lasts 7 years. At the end of the war, the newly formed United States of North America declares there will be no more war, which holds until 2075. And that's the end of her recollections. She doesn't know anything out there beyond that, because she thinks that that's just when her contract with God expires.
When does it's very interesting too. There's a few things I want to comment on, but she says China attacks in 61.
63.
And 3, and it's a 7-year war. That's very interesting, as it lines up to the 7-year tribulation.
Yeah.
That which is in the Bible is that so there's a tribulation that's coming, and the Bible makes it pretty clear in this tribulation that this will be a time like the world has never seen before, as far as the tumult and the violence and the death that's going to be happening. It's split in two sections, the first half and the second half. The first half is called the tribulation. The second half is called the Great Tribulation. And it looks, as far as the Revelation is concerned, it's pretty easy to see that China is in the middle of this stuff, because what they have in this is this 100 million man army that comes across the Tigris and Euphrates and does actually attack Israel. Well, first off, it's been everyone that's looked at the Bible up until recently has said 100 million man army. There's no such thing, that could never happen. But now that China has over 1.2 billion people, and they had that one child law for so many years, you've got an abundance of males over there that'll never get married because there's not enough women over there. And so now the only country in the world that has the capacity of putting together a million man army is China. They're talking about China. The China 7-year war, it ends after, she doesn't have anything after the end of 7 years, because in the Bible, at the end of 7 years, God comes back. And everything, that's when he starts his 1,000-year reign here on earth, according to the book of Revelation. So naturally, she would stop right there if this is an accurate prophecy.
Well, I think it's extremely interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah.
If it weren't for the fact that very soon we're going to start seeing if the wheels come off the bus or not. I mean, if the World Bank thing happens in 2024,
that's going to be
this thing's going viral.
I think even if this isn't prophecy, it's a pretty good guess that she's got in there, if it's not prophecy, about the world banking system, because the gears are in motion right now.
Yeah.
The other thing is interesting too. This is chock full of interesting stuff here.
That's what I thought.
Barry, you said something that's very biblical here, and it's the God says the proof that a prophet is not a prophet. What do you think it is?
The proof that a prophet is not a prophet.
You said it already, but I don't know, because
the words sound tricky.
You're lining up with God. Well, if you want to find out if a prophet really is a sham, what you do is like you said, in 2024, if this doesn't come true, well, we'll know this isn't a prophet of God. So that's going to be it right there. So that's how you can tell.
Okay, I was going to just say,
you got it right.
Give us something that's soon enough, not something so far down the line you'll be
500
dead.
Years, right? Exactly. Believe me. But no, and this is interesting, because most real prophets will have things that are happening that you can look into and see happen, because God's not afraid of putting something like that out there, because he knows what the end is from the beginning. But these charlatans that are out there that you mentioned in the beginning, these guys know how to play the game.
They do.
And
they can read a room.
And they're good at psychology. You know, that's what human psychology and all of our vulnerabilities, and they play on those. So, and these are your wolves in sheep's clothing that are out there. That's a shame. You know, Barry, as you talked, I was thinking about my time in California, and the amazing thing was there was a fortune teller or spiritist type person on almost every corner in Los Angeles. I mean, there's a shingle out in front of, it's not a business, it's in front of people's houses. So these are all over, and there will be these, like the all-knowing, all-seeing eye on the picture and stuff like that. I never see people going into these places. Like, I never see cars parked out in front of it. And I started to wonder, are these even real, or is this some kind of tax scam where you can say, oh no, I have this business going on in here, and now I can write off my mortgage? I'm not sure, but it's a bastion for that kind of stuff in Los Angeles.
No, that's very interesting. Yeah, you know, the thing about California, and I've always thought about this, because there's so many weirdos out there, but there's also so many truly
my coffee out.
But there are also very truly enlightened people out there, because of the beauty, the natural beauty of the area just will bring out any spirituality in anybody. But it can also take, if your mind ain't 100% stable or directed, it'll take you in some wild places, and you'll believe anything. You mix that with a little psilocybin or something, and God only knows where you're going to go.
And whatever else is, exactly. It is that, Barry. You got that right.
Right. Hey, so I wanted to bring up, it's not a good segue, but I just wanted to hit at some point that I will always talk briefly about the Cleveland Browns on here. And guess what, folks? It's that time of the year again.
I can't believe it. Football time again.
And for the first time in my life, after being beaten up and pummeled by this team for 25, 30 years or something, since there wasn't anything worth watching since like 95.
I know, right?
Until they pulled it together with Baker Mayfield and, all these guys a couple years ago. And then Haslam, the worthless owner that we have, the worthless, corrupt, immoral owner that we have, messes it up again with his own quarterback move. And he hasn't claimed that yet. He's hiding behind the front office, but there's no way they would have pulled off this. The world's largest athletic contract in history, $230 million guaranteed to this guy who's got like 26 sexual harassment allegations against him. Now, it's not rape. He asked for a sexual favor here and there from his masseuses, most of which were not professional masseuses. He'd go on Instagram and ask people. So he was using his political power. It's just like to me, it's like sexual harassment in the workplace. To me, it is, I think. But he's a dirtbag. Haslam's a dirtbag. The owner, he was letting his company, and I say it that way because he's the only one that didn't get jail time. How about that? All his underlings got jail time for this scam. Like it's a trucker organization. Wow, it's raining out there. This trucker organization they make deals with fueling trucks and stuff. And the small guys, they were cheating just a little tiny bit here and there. To them, in mass quantities, it was millions of dollars. So just cheating the small guys. And anyways, so for the first time in all these years, I'm making no declarations. I'm going to keep my mind open, but we're on the third preseason game tomorrow, and I haven't watched a play yet. Haven't thought about it. I have no interest. And they may have just finally put me out of my misery.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You're one of the biggest Browns fans that I know. They put you out of your misery. Tell me what you're talking about there, because what I'm hearing you say is that the flame that was in your heart has been extinguished.
It is, like I said,
you're free.
That's what I'm feeling right now. Now, I'm not saying that, okay, we get a little bit of snow on the ground and I'm, on Sunday and I'm watching some football and, turn them on and I see a really great game and I'm thinking, wow, this team could go somewhere. If that were to happen, I don't know, maybe they'd win me back. Because I read the comments. There's a couple online papers that still have comments on them. And I think that's more important than the actual articles. And I'd hear a lot of people talk like me, and I just believe that Haslam's just invited the curse right back into this team. I think after 11 games, when Deshaun Watson is allowed to take the field again, we're going to hear all the excuses about why he's been so rusty because he hasn't been able to play in a year and a half or whatever. Then he's going to get injured for sure. And, by then, they mortgaged the future, gave away all their draft picks for the next 3 years and everything. So I just see at least 5 years of a dumpster fire. So that's, but I've seen other people say in the comments, this is my point. It's just football. It's okay when the Steelers have a rapist for a quarterback. It's okay when the Ravens have a murderer on their defensive line. But on our team, it's a big deal. It's just football. It's like, okay, that guy's got a point. He's got a point.
He does. It's just football. You're right. You're right. You're exactly right. These are guys that have a job to do, and we're expecting them to be, all these morals and everything like that. But why do we expect that anymore? You're right. They used to do that.
We used to hold them to a higher standard of accountability because they're public figures. I think we still should, but it's never going to happen.
Well, there was a day like that, but I think the Charles Barkley era came in where he was like, I'm not your hero. I'm not your role model. I'm a person that plays basketball.
Your daddy should be your role.
Yeah. And I you know what, when I look at, I remember when he said those things, I was outraged, but then I started thinking about, like you said, he's right about that. These guys shouldn't be our role. Our dad should be more of our role model than these people are. And certainly there are people that are out there that are role model-esque that should be, and we should look into that. But just because you're a football star doesn't make you a guy we should be, emulating.
Maybe it's too bad
maybe on the field.
It's too bad those days are gone.
I agree.
Come and gone. Though.
It
is too bad because when you're a little kid, right, those are your heroes.
I agree.
They're in a costume. They're doing these amazing feats. What do you expect a little kid?
I remember being a kid watching those games with my dad, and I was inspired as well. I wanted to be out there too, and it was glamorous. It was tough. It was strategic. It was everything that makes a red-blooded American young man inspired. And just the whole thing was a beautiful thing, but they ruined it and it's never coming back. I don't think they could come back from this. For me, it was when Cleveland left and the Browns left and went to Baltimore. For me, the spell was broken then. I was free, and I have the same thing, Barry. Like, for instance, if the Browns got to be really good at probably right around mid-season, they're undefeated, I'd probably start watching them because I love Cleveland. And even though they're a football team, they represent the people in Cleveland that haven't had many real champions, and they deserve that because they're a hardworking, kind of mostly, blue collar kind of town, and they work so hard and they deserve it. And they've had a lot of bad breaks. I'd love to see that because I'm an underdog guy.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
and I think
about Cleveland.
Yeah, most people are. So I agree with you in all those regards. So it is what it is. But back to your parents should be your role models and all that. I'm just gonna give a plug on this again. Soon, Eric Christensen and I will give a big, thorough look at that whole parenting topic and where we go wrong here. Because don't you feel like it's almost taboo to talk about the responsibilities of parenting, and you should be taught a little something. We're not. No one's taught anything about.
Everyone's so sensitive about it too. Like, what are you trying to tell me how to raise my kid? All this stuff. The operative word is pride. There's so much pride around this that it's a terrible thing.
I want to switch subjects. I want to get to you. I got in my notes. I got other fun things. I just heard a Dyer podcast and he passed away like 5 years ago, but it was all about antidepressants, which ties into some other stuff and really eye-opening stuff about that. And then you and I would get into the whole FDA and the pharma thing about it. But let's talk about you for a bit.
Okay.
You've had some big revolutionary, would you say that revolutionary changes in your life that you brought in?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about my thing I'm trying to do. Back in May, you and I were talking about, let's get in shape. It's summertime is coming up here. And we kind of had a little challenge. We started, you were doing some of that.
I did a cleanse and intermittent fasting.
Right.
And then I ended 2 weeks of that with a 3-day fast. So it was big time.
I was inspired too in May and was, I had been doing intermittent fasting. So, I would not eat until the afternoon, and I would have a small lunch, and then I would have a larger dinner. And then somewhere around 10 o'clock at night, I'd be starving again. And I'd end up at the refrigerator like an angry bear looking for some cheese to eat or something,
And it's a bad way to go.
It is a bad way to go. And my wife would always be like, you shouldn't eat right before you go to bed. I can't. I'm so hungry though. And so, I decided, I'm just going to get on my bicycle and I'm going to regularly ride my bicycle and just work the weight off. And after 4 weeks and a little over 200 miles, I had lost 2.5 pounds, and I was really frustrated with this whole thing. And meanwhile,
then it got to be 110 degrees out, right?
Yeah, that's right. So June hits, and every day it's like over 100. This ungodly heat. I could barely even walk around in it. So I thought, well, I'll just ride at night. It's 105 degrees at night. Okay.
Is that really true, though?
Yes, I couldn't believe it.
Because it's desert. I thought because of the clear skies that the heat just goes out. I thought it would get cold.
Yeah, so you got to tell somebody about this because they're doing it wrong out here. I'm like, wait, when does it get cool? At 2 in the morning? At what time does it cool? It would be sweltering at even 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And it's really bizarre. So I was starting to puff up, and even the clothes, because I have 3 sets of clothes. I have my super skinny clothes that I haven't worn in a while. And then I got my medium clothes that I was fitting into right before COVID. I mean, whoops.
And then you have post-COVID.
And then I have these, my other clothes, okay, that I try to make it look good in, because being a 6'4" guy, you can hide some of this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Is my sound good?
You're fine. Okay.
Dude. And so, but now like my pants, I just buttoning my pants was getting hard, and I'm like, I don't have any more clothes after this, and because of everything, I really, rather than go out and buy some clothes, let's come up with a new plan here. So my brother had gotten involved in this program called Optavia, and he got Optavia, OPTI.
VIA?
Yeah, VIA, Optavia.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And Optavia is a plan that he got on. And let me just explain how he got involved in this, because this is a cool story. And I kind of got involved in this. So one day, Scott asked me to go on a motorcycle ride. And he said, I got a client that's doing a charity event. He's in a band, and let's stop at a park. Let's stop there. I'm delighted. Yeah, let's do that. So we go. They're playing all kinds of classic rock. The band is really great. This guy, Phil, is Scott's client, and he's the drummer, and he's great. And I meet him, and he's a really nice guy. Okay, so that's how I meet him. About a few months later, Phil's kind of a bigger guy. A few months later, I find out, maybe 6-7 months later, I find out from Scott that Phil has lost all this weight, and he's all svelte, and everything's going great, and all kinds of health problems have disappeared, and that he's going to get involved, and that Phil has a health coach, and Scott gets referred to this health coach, and so he gets involved in the program. Now it's been a year later. Scott's lost 70 pounds. Scott looks like a different guy. It is a lot. I mean, he looks about 15 years younger.
He does. I've seen pictures. He looks like he's back in college again. And he's such a good looking guy. Too.
He looks like a Hollywood movie star to me.
I think so. Yeah.
And he's got this aura about him of joy, confidence, stability. He just the way that he talks, he just exudes this whole thing. And so in the process of him dropping all this weight, my stepfather, Larry, says, hey, what are you doing? Larry gets involved with the same health coach and Scott. Now, Larry has lost 60 pounds.
Wow.
Larry, he's pushing 70 years old now. And we do this video Bible conference every couple of weeks. I saw Larry stand up, and man, he had a gut. He has no gut. He had his shirt tucked in. He's wearing jeans. He looked like a cowboy. I mean, from the movies. And I'm like, okay, message. Maybe I should look into this. So let me say one thing about that, Merle. I think because when I started this stuff back in May, my thing just kind of came out of thin air, and I was fed up. I was ready to go. You just came out of transition. Your life has been in a lot of transition. You needed to get to a place where you're ready.
to do this.
That's
so
right. That's
you got your things in order, you got your house in order, and then you were like, okay, then you're ready to go.
Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, now I want to live for a long time. Now that I'm all settled, I don't want to have any health problems. And especially when you take a look at the state of healthcare today, I don't want to have to go to the hospital.
No
kidding. So, and and these being overweight, you make yourself vulnerable to all kinds of things out there. Yeah, exactly.
It's in your control too.
I don't want that. And also I think I'm pretty young looking for my age. So why ruin it by being overweight? So I was a little hesitant to do this because Scott, my younger brother, would be my health coach, and not telling me what to do.
Telling big brother what to do.
I had
dynamic changes, flips scripts. Yes.
When he first started doing this and losing weight, he talked to me about it, told me he would be my health coach. I'm like, there is no way on earth I'm letting that happen.
He told me that.
Yeah. But then when he lost 70 pounds, I was like, okay, the definition of wisdom is if you want to do something, look to somebody that's done it before successfully and ask them how they did it and do exactly what they did. So I humbled myself and I told Scott I wanted him to be my health coach, which he was delighted to be that. And he's such a helpful, loving brother. I'm telling you, I hit the jackpot when God gave me him as a brother.
Agreed. Now I'm going to say one thing too, to capitalize on the importance of having him for a coach. I've talked to him a few times about the diet and stuff in the last year. The amount of knowledge he has about nutrition and diet like blows me. Like what I got what he's got in his pinky is what I have in my whole head.
It's pretty amazing to me too, Barry, how he's been able to do that, and him being my coach. I mean, it's been it'll be 3 weeks on Tuesday, but it's gone very, very well. He's been a rock star. But beforehand, he was telling me now this is what I love is he and his health coach have been helping me. And they are so support. You need support. This isn't a diet, by the way. This is a whole lifestyle change.
In a minute, I want to ask you exactly about the nuts and bolts of it. But right. You're okay. Go ahead.
And so it's a lifestyle change. And when you're doing a lifestyle change, wisdom says you need support. You absolutely need support on something like this. And that's what I love about this program is that they're encouraging. They've all done it before. They've been down this road. This is a serious change that you have to make, though.
It's intimidating.
I told you that and it's like this. It's a science. If you just follow the path and don't deviate from the path, it's going to work. This isn't, I think it's going to work. I wonder if it's going to work. This will work. Just follow this plan and do this. Now, the way it works is I'm on this plan called 5 and 1. And the plan is you eat 5 of these little meals that they give you. And then at the end, you have this one called lean and green that you make. Okay. So each one of these food packages that they have, there's a wide variety. They have smoothies, they have bars that you can eat. They have mixes where you can make soup or mashed potatoes or different desserts. And Scott's telling me in the beginning, like, first off, I'm thinking, okay, wait a second. Did you just tell me I got to eat 6 times a day? I mean, I eat maybe 6 times a day. That's a big change. And these meals, what are we talking, Scott's right away? Like, okay, you're not going to be like, that was delicious. And I'm like, oh, okay. And what they have all the nutrients that you need in it, the vitamins and everything like that. And, you're going to eat these 6 times a day, and then you'll have your lean and green. Lean and green is you have between 5 and 7 ounces of protein. You could have steak or salmon or chicken. You weigh it out after it's cooked. Okay. Not before it's cooked, after it's cooked. And you have 1.5 cups of green, salad or asparagus or whatever, but you got to weigh these things out. basically each of these 5 meals is 100 calories. And then whatever your lean and green is after that, you're probably looking at about 1,200 calories by the end of the day.
Wow, God, that's not much.
No, but what it does is it gets you so that it's giving you exactly what you need. And what ends up happening, all the vitamins and minerals you need, what ends up happening is within a few days, your body goes into mild ketosis. Okay. So in that first 2.5 weeks, you're probably going to feel kind of tired because
we talked and you said that did happen.
It did. Your body's making a pretty serious adjustment from burning off all those carbs I was eating, also being inhibited by the salt that I was taking in. These are things, and then the calories and all that. So my body was just going immediately to burning the carbs and not burning any fat and actually storing fat. What happens in this process is your body starts to turn because it doesn't have those carbs to eat anymore. It doesn't have, it's not inhibited. Also, you got to drink at least 64 ounces of water every day. I'm doing about 100 ounces every day right now.
When you say water, can it be tea?
It can be, yeah.
Oh,
or it could even be coffee.
Oh, okay, because I drink that stuff. That would be nothing for me.
Right. For me, to tell you the truth, the diet, actually, the plan makes, I'm thirsty, so I have no problem drinking. And also, I find what you end up finding out is a lot of times these signs in your body that you're hungry are really because you're dehydrated.
Yeah,
and you actually need water. So I start this. So Scott's telling me this plan. I'm like, God, this is intimidating, and I'm kind of scared about this. You know,
somebody said 1,200 calories a day to me. I'd be, I'd be cheating for sure. I'd be having stocking candy bars or something. I don't like candy bars, but
all right. So Anne Marie was real concerned because you
did not mention. Now Anne Marie's doing this with you, correct?
I'm not gonna go into what he's doing or not, likes her privacy, but I'm going to stay focused on me. Okay. But the thing about Anne Marie is that she knows how I am when I'm hungry. She heard the 1,200 calories and she's like, I don't know if I could live with this guy.
I know.
I'm actually kind of scared about this whole thing. And and confidentially, I was kind of worried about the whole thing too, like, because I know how I am too when I don't like that guy. Hungry Merle, I don't like him either. So the first day so I'm thinking about this, and Scott, after about 2 weeks, says, if you would have just pulled the trigger a couple of weeks ago, you'd probably be down 6 to 10 pounds by now. And I'm like, that was a good one, Scott. Okay, let's order this up. So we went forward. Let me tell you what happened. Yeah. After the first 2 days of this, I started to realize that something was changing, and it was my mental outlook. And here's why. I didn't realize this, Barry, but I was starving myself. And I already was putting myself in that bad mood before this. Yeah. And now I'm eating what you do. You eat when you first wake up, and then you eat every 2 to 3 hours. And you set an alarm to do this. So, and you stay on this cadence. And what I found out was from the start of the day to the end of the day, I'm not hungry.
Wow.
I'm not hungry.
1,200 calories and you're not hungry.
I'm not hungry. And they have these little tricks that you could do. But in that, and so there have been a couple of nights where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting hungry again. And so they're like, well, just go ahead and have one of those. If you have to, have another one of those meals, and that'll kill the hunger. Or if you have to, sip on some chicken broth, like have a cup of chicken broth, or have a pickle spear. These sounded ridiculous to me when they
pickles,
told pickle spear. I couldn't believe how refreshing that was.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe how it clamped down on all my crave. So these are. A lot of this is false cravings that I was having, that once I get out of, you see, I'm addicted. I found out I was addicted to carbs.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So a lot of this is I'm going cold turkey. Well, it's not really cold turkey because with the meals you get some carb. They're not starving. You have to have some carbs, right? Or you're going to go into a brain fog. So you have some of these things. It's just a whole lot less. And food. Now that I'm going into my third week, food is tasting better. Even those little meals, Scott downplayed it, and there's a lot of them that I really like, actually.
Now, dude, are they changing over time? Or are you always going to have the same
no, there's
choice?
All kinds of varieties. So every month, what the first month you kind of have a sampling of everything. You don't even get everything, but there's a sampling, so you're kind of figuring out what you like, what you don't like. There's definitely some that I didn't like.
It's gonna be disappointing.
It is. It's like, oh, I gotta eat this one.
Yeah, then I gotta wait 3 hours before I hopefully get something good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then when you start running low, it's like I picked all the ones I love and left all the ones that I like. Now I gotta eat all of the spinach
all day long.
Right. I got but anyhow, it's been an experience. So I took pictures. I measured myself before I started, like around the circumference of my belly, my waistline, my chest line, even my wrists. I measured. Then I took very humiliating pictures of myself, which I will not show you, and the front and side. And in the first week, I dropped 9.5 pounds.
Holy crap.
And then I took a picture the week after, and there was a dramatic difference in the circumference of my belly. Sure. From 1 week to the next. It was all belly stuff that went away.
A lot of it is just emptying out all the stuff out of your intestines and
or
stuff.
just also there's a thing called inflammation that's happening here too.
Yes.
And all of that went away. Like within a week, Barry, all of those clothes I said that we're pushing my belt line, that all went away within a week.
Wow.
And so the next week didn't lose as much. So
of course
I'm down, and that's good because it would be scary to lose that kind of weight every week. But so after 2 weeks, I'm down 12 pounds.
That's amazing.
Yes. And so I'm purposely disciplining myself not to weigh myself every day. I'm only going to weigh myself. Weigh-in day is Tuesday. I'm going to weigh myself then, because you know how the scale can really demoralize you. Yes. In fact, I hate my scale with a passion. I would love to just get a sledgehammer like an Office Space.
I think the inches are far more important than
way more important.
Yeah. More important. So let me ask you a couple of things. First of all, back to Optavia. Okay. Yeah. And
that's what I said at first.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but are they like private labeling or subbing out the food? They have a relationship with the food manufacturers.
This is the interesting story, is that there's this guy by the name of Dr. A, I think it's Art Anderson. And he was a physician. He is a physician, and he was practicing medicine. And many years ago, he was, I think he was a heart doctor, a cardiologist or something like that. He ended up getting frustrated with healthcare because all he could do was patch up people after they had already completely annihilated themselves. And then they'd end up, after a year or two, they'd end up right back in front of him again. And he decided to get out of this after effect and get on the forefront of it and help people to stop them from going down this way. So he formulated all of these different meals. These are all from that company, and it was all based on the science, that medical science that he put all the ingredients together, and they actually make this and send it out.
Well, I'm going to say I'm a big multivitamin, natural vitamin kind of guy. I take probably about 6 different supplements, but there's no better way to get your vitamins and minerals and nutrition than from eating your food, the right food.
Well, that's the thing too, is that they told us if we're taking multivitamins before we go on to this, to stop taking them, because all of that is included in these foods. And if you ever overdo it with multivitamins, that's not a good place to be.
Agreed.
So that was a good thing. And look, the whole group is so behind you, and it's an educational thing on how to form habits. Really, the whole concept of what they put together, it's not just for healthy living. The wisdom involved in what they have actually helps you with pretty much everything in life. The foundational concepts to do this are foundational concepts to live a good life.
Yeah.
And so this is so much bigger than just what you look like. That's a big part of it, but it's about
important.
Well-rounded mental and physical health.
You know, when you talk about the community behind it, the coaching behind it, the doctor developing this, the support of it, man, I can't tell you, the 12 steps comes up so much with my guests, of course, with Ray Vance, and his book on alcoholism and addiction, but Wonder Drug and everything else. The 12 steps come up so much because it's such a healing process of healing the way that you think and forming better thinking habits. And so I see a little bit of that here.
I see a lot of that, actually. I thought a lot about that because we've had conversations about the 12 steps and the people that you've been talking to. And one of the things that I saw right away was, here Scott is my health coach. So he's not only now motivated for himself, but now he's got somebody, his brother that I know he loves me. And now it's not just him. He's got me and he's got Larry. And besides all that, my son, he's just like me. And he's been working hard and everything, but he's been gaining weight. Just like, I didn't know this, but he'd gotten to 298 on the scale. And my brother was like, you think Brandon would be okay if I talked to him about this? I'm like, Scott, he would totally respect you for talking to him about what you did. So Scott ended up taking him out and they talked and went over this stuff, and he didn't get involved. Brandon didn't get involved in the whole thing, but he was inspired by Scott. And as a result, he's lost 45 pounds himself.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. So here it is. I was talking to Diane, who is Scott's health coach, and I was saying, isn't it interesting how God works? Because this is a mission for her. She's a Christian and she wants to help people. And I said, isn't it interesting how God works? You helped a guy named Phil that I didn't even know, and now this has trickled down to my whole family. I said, you've got my brother, you got me, you got my stepfather, you got my son. I mean, you affected a whole family. And she says, listen to this, Merle. She says, did you know that I'm best friends with Phil's wife? I had no idea. I don't know. I said, no, I didn't know that. She goes, well, here's what happened. I've been doing this program for a few years now. And by the way, she lost a whole bunch of weight. She's all trim and she's been like that for years now. Anyway, so she says, a mutual friend of ours passed away too young. He was way overweight. There was some alcoholism involved. And and when that happened, I just started to worry about my friend Phil. And I didn't know I didn't want to, embarrass him or anything, but I prayed about it. Like, how do I bring this up? And I just got overwhelmed with the courage to call Phil up and just ask him about it. Anyway, long story short, Phil ended up doing this and it totally changed his life. And I said, isn't that interesting, Diane? You prayed about it, and the courage that you had not only changed Phil's life, but you changed an entire family that you didn't even know by making that decision. And just think about what a rewarding thing that is for her. She got choked up when I said that, but I mean, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's the whole concept, is just reaching out and helping each other. And that'll change the whole world, really. Just do that.
It will, because it heals our anxieties. We come together, realize, oh, we're all imperfect and we all can find a way together. here's the way. Yeah. What role does exercise play in this?
So one of the things they told me, great question. One of the things they told me, because you and I talked about Planet Fitness, and I got really excited about Planet Fitness. There's one 8 minutes away from my house, and I went over there and I found out it's one of the few places, brand new, and no one goes to it. It's like, oh, I could have it all to myself.
I think that'd be
$10
great.
a month. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Well, I was talking to Scott and Diane about it, and they were like, well, you don't want to, you're going to go into mild ketosis for about 2.5, 3 weeks. So do not exercise during that time. You'll screw yourself up by doing that. So I got about a half a week, and I tell you what, as soon as that's up, I'm going over there. But they were right. They were right, because you go through that 2.5 weeks. You really you don't want to work out. You want to sit out.
You're an adjustment. Your body's going through a total adjustment.
Let your body do that is what I learned. And so as soon as I'm almost out of that, and then I'll be ready. I'm Planet Hollywood, Planet Fitness. Here I come.
And I'm just going to say what I always say: take it slow, take it easy, very controlled. Don't jerk weights around. Go nice and steady, and make sure that you can come back the next day or the day after. But just don't overdo it.
Couple more things I just wanted to bring up here, and that is that I've talked about these fantastic results that people are having all around me with this program, but I just want to say this, that everybody's got to find something that works for them. Just because it worked for me and my brother and my stepfather and my son did his own thing. Find something that's I didn't know that this would work for me, and it seemed pretty severe, but when I got into it, it turned out that it was probably one of the best things I could have ever done. And I learned a lot about myself. But if you are interested in doing something, if anybody out there is interested in doing something like this, just send a note in to O5O, and we'll get you hooked up with a health coach, and you can do this. We definitely want to share the love if anybody out there is interested. But if not, good luck. God bless you.
Yeah, I think that their entire methodology really fits in well with ours, our entire philosophy. And who knows, maybe over time we'll become a little bit more integrated. I'd like to find things like this that are really wellness oriented.
I wanted to say this too, but something I learned about myself was because Scott was talking to Diane and said, Merle, he's got this. When he's hungry, look out. And she said that, it sounds more like it's a blood sugar management issue for Merle. And if this whole 5-in-1 and eating small meals multiple times a day is how you manage your blood sugar. And I'm telling you, I feel so much more even keel.
Man, that's great.
And here's another thing. I'm finding that maybe this is just my imagination, but it seems like I'm laughing a lot more too. So, and I love to laugh. So
I'm sure you're happier. I'm sure that you're feeling better.
Real good about the direction. And I think that's permeating pretty much everything else in my life right now.
Yes, of course.
I'm feeling good about all the challenges I have in my life. And that, if you can do this, you could pretty much do anything.
No, I totally agree. And I like what you said about find what works for you. I say the same thing about exercise. Like, find what works, what keeps you coming back the next day. So if it's walking with my dog is where I usually do my best thinking. And it's terrific exercise, no impact,
Here's another benefit, Barry, is that I really don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. Like, I don't have to plan it out or anything like that for all of my meals, except for that lean and green, which really takes very little planning. It just takes that whole mess out of what are we going to have tonight? What are we going to, I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? Oh my gosh, I hate that. We and Anne-Marie did that every night until recently.
Really? We don't have any problem. Lisa's so regimented in what she eats, and me, I have I make Mexican because I can make healthy and it's delicious, and then several other things. But I almost always have my boar's head sandwich stuff on hand. And
don't say sandwich.
Oh, so do you get to eat any bread at all?
No.
That would be the hardest part.
I haven't had any bread or any cheese. And it's a challenge, but I'm telling you, Barry, I feel like, sure, if in the first week, I remember I was watching a movie and someone was mowing down on a big ham sandwich. I was like, I wanted to grab that guy by the throat and take his sandwich. but I don't feel like that today. But of course, I haven't seen anybody with a sandwich walking by.
Speaking to finding what works for you, I didn't have a weight problem, but I was going in that direction. I was feeling sloppy and I was rolling with the, hey, I'm not bad for 53. I'm not bad for 50. Now I'm 56. And I was like, I'm not feeling like tired of saying not bad for this. I wasn't liking where I was at.
Yeah.
And so the cleanse with the intermittent fasting was great for me. Doing the 3-day fast was incredible for me. And, I lost about roughly 8 pounds on the 2 weeks of intermittent fasting. And then I only lost about 3 more pounds on the 3-day fast, if you could believe that. Only 3 on the 3-day fast, but I continued the intermittent fasting after the fast, and I didn't gain it back. That's what's amazing. Big deal. That's the big deal.
Yep.
I thought I would have gained back 6 of them. I really did. I stayed down there. And in fact, I got down to 201 at the end of my fast. And last week, a few days ago, I hit 199. And I was like, yes, beautiful. I want 200 to be where I top out, I had a bad weekend. Yeah, I'm at 200. Yeah. And I would like to be down to 195 or somewhere in between 190 and 195 eventually.
Yeah, I remember high school.
Yeah, I'm very slowly, and that's the way for me it's working. Is just I'm going to just keep doing beautiful. What I'm doing.
Yeah. And you look great. You do look great. And I mean, you've always done a great job of taking care of yourself. I mean, ever since I'd known you back in college, you've done a great job. And sure, everybody has their fluctuations. Some people have bigger fluctuations than others. And I got to tell you, I've done this too many times where I've gained the weight and then I've worked really hard to lose it and then I've gained it again. And so this whole concept of lifestyle change, not diet, but lifestyle change.
Let me ask you,
one and done.
What is the end game here? Hopefully you're not eating these little packaged things the rest of your life.
No. So what you do is you go on to this maintenance mode where everything changes at that point. Of course, you could never live off of 1,200 calories a day. This is fat burning mode. And then they have a whole program for coming out of that. And plus, they educate you so much that you don't necessarily have to buy all their stuff. You could do, it's just very convenient to do it that way, but they teach you how to do this on your own too.
Nice.
So you're getting, the reason Scott has such an education on this is because that's what happens is you get educated to the point where you're empowered to make healthy choices.
It's awareness.
And before it was just like, well, I feel like this should be good for me to eat. Now this takes all that out of the equation. Okay. And now exactly, okay, I don't have one. I can just go and do this, or I can do that. And so it's empowering. It's totally empowering.
I totally get it. Instead of looking at a pizza and going, well, let's see, we got tomatoes and we got dairy and we got, and it's like, you're not kidding yourself with that. You know exactly the harm that is right in there.
Well, and here's something I remember. I did Weight Watchers. I did very well on Weight Watchers at one time. And but when I first started the program, silly me, I did it right before Thanksgiving. Oh, wow. And so I came in and I weighed in, and then I had to weigh in after Thanksgiving, and I gained like 8 pounds.
And, how is that possible?
Well, and that's what I wondered. But here's what happened is I learned what happened. And I remember, because I wrote down everything that I ate. And what it was that I ate about 3/4 of a cherry pie.
Oh my God.
I couldn't stop eating this cherry pie. And then what I learned from that situation is if I would have taken that hunger and because I love turkey. And I even love I love mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes would have been an exponentially better choice than the pie.
All that sugar and carbs.
Yeah. And if I would have just had more turkey and some mashed potatoes, I probably maybe would have gained a pound. But instead, I invested in the cherry pie.
I follow you. Well, it's interesting that they have
the cherry pie.
They have a what do you want to say, an undocking process, of how to get you out back into the real world. It's like you're going to go through a halfway house.
Yeah, kind of. And but it's never one and done. It's a lifestyle change. You learn that as you go through this. And I certainly needed to learn this. Nobody really teaches you this. You gotta figure it out or die, really. I mean, because those are the stakes here.
Are you encouraged to become someone's coach after you so-called graduate?
The jury's still out on that.
Here's why I asked.
I'm still new at this, but I would, as I said, hey, reach out. We'll hook you up with a health coach. I could see. I love to help people. I do love to help.
Here's why I ask, is because it seems, as we mentioned before, that it takes quite a bit from a 12-step program. And the 12th step in the 12-step program is service. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you got someone else besides yourself depending on you to be the symbol of overcoming that obstacle.
So here's where I believe in that big time, Barry, that whole thing.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, but here's where I am, is that I'm so new at this that, I could end up thinking, well, maybe I'll change to something else. I don't know that yet. Right now I'm kind of in the honeymoon phase. And so I think allowing myself that option is a good thing too. Here's another key to this, is that you're allowed to have whatever you want. This isn't like, oh, you're not allowed to have that. But you yourself have to make your own choices. Like, okay, I could have that, but here's the consequences if I have that. Do I still want to do that?
Interesting.
That. And I say this because psychologically, if you tell me I can't have something, that's what I want. Right. So this works for me psychologically, is that, hey, I could have whatever I want. And they have this little, okay, before you do it, stop. There's some kind of thing they have, but it basically makes you think about what your why is. The whole thing is revolving around your why, and so your why is, I want to fit into these clothes. I want to be able to go and to my friend's house and take off my shirt and jump in the swimming pool and not be embarrassed. I want to be able to look good in my suits. I want to look good when I do a podcast. I want to be able to sit. These are some of my whys. I want to be able, next time I fly, which who knows when that's going to be, I want my butt to be able to fit in that narrow seat, because it's very uncomfortable. I don't want to spill over onto the the guy next to me. All these things. So what you do when you're tempted is you just focus on what your why is. And, if you decide this is what I want, I got to have this, because it's not sustainable if you're constantly denying everything and telling yourself, I can't, you're under the law. It's just not going to work that way.
No, I totally get it.
So much better to do it this way. I think it works for me. This works for me.
Well, and it comes back to what we were talking about. Find what works for you. And I think this is a good option. I also think it's very important that we talk to you while you're in this honeymoon phase, and then we can check back in. And, if we're going to check back in, do a podcast like this once a month, that's actually very good timing, I think.
Yeah, let's see. And actually, that might actually help me to, I'm going to I can't wait till next month to tell you guys about this. That could be even another motivator for me.
That's good. That's good. Where do you want to go from here? I mean, I got some other things, but I wanted to see what you got.
Gosh, I'm gonna give it to you on this one, because I gotta.
Well, I wanted to, because we were talking about with Jim Paluch about depression, and it's become, and it's kind of, that kind of talk has leaked into a few of the guest podcasts because, and it does in general, it's gotten to be a big thing in this country in the 21st century. And it's gotten depression and suicide has climbed to scary rates with the younger generations as well. And I was listening to a Wayne Dyer podcast just a couple days ago at the gym, and he's been gone now for about 5 years. So these are, I don't know when this was from. It could have been from 2014 or so. But he was talking to a woman about she lost a guest. She lost her husband, and she mentioned somewhere, but I guess it was maybe in 2003. He was just a regular, super nice guy, Mr. Positive. Everybody liked him and all that. But he started having problems sleeping with insomnia. And so he goes to the doctor and they put him on Zoloft. And nobody really heard of Zoloft much at that time. And well, it's an antidepressant, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Well, over the period, he was told that it's going to take a couple of weeks to start taking effect. Just stick with it. He's starting to feel terrible. He's like, I'm, getting really just, my mind is horrible thoughts. And he even hit up and they're like, well, you got to just wait 6 weeks. This is all going to work out. He doesn't know where these things are coming from. He thinks it's still kind of the insomnia, whatever was causing that was going forward. Oh, this Zoloft's going to work for you. And he had an episode where he's just holding his head so bad and just screaming for his wife. And, she didn't know what to do to help him. And well, they made it through that. And she had to do a work trip a couple of weeks later. And she came, and they always talk, several times a day via phone and text and all this. And she wasn't getting through to him. And she finally called her father to go over there and found that he had hung himself. And they find out it was because, and not on the spot, but as things unfold, it's because of this damn Zoloft. And this has been quite a problem. And if you watch some of these commercials that proliferate through our media and listen to the warnings that they speak really, really fast, thoughts of suicide gets thrown right in there. And this is a big problem. And they threw out something that I did not put together. I don't think it's been in the media, like 2 and 2 were put together. Robin Williams, famous comedian who hung himself. They were very quick to say, oh, hey, no drugs or alcohol in the system. Well, 2 antidepressants were in his system. Yeah. So pharma.
That makes sense. Yep.
Pharma's been prescribing Adderall and antidepressants to our children at record rates.
They have.
Yes. And they do their own studies, and the FDA approves them to do their own studies. There is nothing about the system that makes any sense whatsoever. And I just really bring this up that we need to create more of an awareness around this.
Yeah, Barry, I was speaking to a young nurse several months ago about this whole thing happening with these young people and this epidemic of depression, and she was saying, yeah, we see them all we see them all the time. They come into our clinic and we help them out. We get them all hooked up on antidepressants and help them. I mean, we see it all the time. We just get them on these antidepressants, and that's what they need. And I didn't argue with her or anything like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But because that's how, she's very educated, and that's what they teach you. I mean, because what medicine has become, medicine didn't used to mean drugs. Okay. Medicine was,
good point.
This is a medical, you're going to the medicine man. Okay. He practices medicine. Medicine isn't drugs. Medicine is the practice. Okay. But medicine the definition of medicine has changed. We've changed the definition, or the definition has been changed on purpose to mean drugs. Yes. And so when you have an ailment, the first thing you think of is, I need drugs. And this is what's happening with antidepressants. And as you said, look, their kids have been out of school, a lot of them, or their school has been their routine has been disrupted and things like this. And you know what, how it is when we're kids, there's a sociological, what is it? We're being socially,
I'm sorry,
not socialism, but this is our
psychologically
process of fitting into society. That's what we're doing as we're kids, and it's a very these are formative years, and
to your point,
we need to teach kids how to deal with this without just putting a drug patch on it right away, because these problems are going down to the root of who they are.
And they're not being able to deal with it and unravel that for themselves.
Right.
To your point, I think you're trying to say, you just made this click, is Dyer was talking about there that these pharmaceutical companies wanted to make shyness a symptom that needs to be treated.
Wow.
To your point.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned about depression is that, you know, there's kind of layers of things that happen. Like there's a stress layer there. Well, what's causing all the stress? Well, you're not sleeping, and you got all these pressures, and you know what's causing, you know, what's causing all this? Well, there's a fear down there at a lower system here, or getting closer to the root is this fear that you have. Anxiety is always stemming from fear, so you got to be able to attack the fear. Well, where's the fear coming from? And the root of fear that I'm learning is condemnation. And you're looking at, I'm not good enough. I don't have the strength. I don't have the power. Yeah. And what we've seen today is an onslaught in social media, in the media, everyone around you. It's preaching this message of fear, which is triggering this condemnation inside of people, which is building up this depression and anxiety in people at levels we've never seen before, because we've never had this ubiquitous message coming at us 24/7 ever in history. And so it makes so much sense that this is happening. And it also makes sense that the society that we've become has decided to treat it artificially rather than actually getting down into the dirt and helping people with the root of this whole thing, which is condemnation.
Agreed. I think that that's a great big part of it. I think that was very well said. But I also want to say that I do believe that there's a whole lot of big percentage of people that are just born with a chemical imbalance that have been treated successfully with these drugs. And
I totally agree. But that doesn't necessarily have to see. But right now, the treaty with medicine with drugs is the default.
Agreed. I think
that's where we gotta see. What I heard from that nurse is, as soon as they come in, we just slap some drugs on them.
That is the case.
That's
really
the
case.
That's really not medicine.
Let's start here. This is something I got from the Cleveland Clinic in my email a couple of days ago. The clinic on depression. Our minds and bodies are intimately linked. What's good for one tends to be good for the other. Physical exercise, for instance, can boost your mood and energy, and has even shown to help treat clinical depression.
I believe that.
I know that. I know for me, this is an absolute fact. In an analysis of 33 clinical studies on more than 1,800 adults, researchers found that strength training improves symptoms of depression. Guys, it doesn't mean you're going in there and busting your butt with barbells. It just means resistance training. Those machines, just, don't overdo it. But I fully believe and endorse this as well.
It builds up your endorphins, right? Like,
sure,
you're working out. And these are the happy chemicals that are happening inside of your body, right?
And any amount of resistance exercise seemed to help. How much participants exercised and whether or not they improved their strength significantly didn't seem to matter. More research is needed to determine how strength training may improve mood, but there's no need to wait and start working out with weights and or your own body weight. Not just your mood, but overall health and physical functioning will benefit. If you have depression, talk to your doctor about incorporating exercise into your routine. Yeah, do it responsibly. If you haven't exercised before, get a trainer. so that you can find out how to
get
do
the
it
right trainer, though, because some of these trainers, I'm telling you, that they feel like it's a challenge to hurt you.
That's
when you
true.
get in there. I've had these trainers where and then 2 days later, you can't even get out of your bed, and you're totally demotivated to go back there again.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Merle.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we should just spend. Oh, go ahead if you want.
No, there was one more thing I wanted to say, but I kind of forgot what it was. I think we hit that pretty good, though. But I did want to talk about something that's come up in healthcare.
Oh, what's that?
Since you're on healthcare right now, there's as you know, I work for Black Ops Partners, and we're constantly getting intelligence on threats that are happening here. And I had something that pulled up here today that I thought was a pretty interesting read. Let's see if I still have it. Yeah, here it is. This is get this, Barry. U.S. healthcare sector breaches 342 million records since 2009. Whoa, let me just read the first paragraph on this, because this is something that's happening out here. It's not just healthcare. This is happening. This is a huge thing that's happening right now. But according to a new research and analysis from Comparatech, healthcare organizations in the U.S. has suffered from almost 5,000 publicly recorded data breaches since 2009. The company compiled the data to better understand how severe the security challenges facing the sector really are. The data includes breaches up to June 2022. The largest breaches over that period came in 2020 and 2021. With 803 and 711 breaches, respectively. California organization accounted for most breaches. However, Indiana won for breaches sliced according to population size. And it goes on. But I mean, this is interesting. Why healthcare? Why is healthcare?
I was wondering the same thing.
Well,
for one, they've had the most rudimentary, as everybody else progressed with tech. It seemed to me the healthcare industry lagged way behind.
You're exactly right, Barry. Yeah. Coming out of the healthcare industry, what I've seen will blow you away on the lack of security, because they have communication servers there that are servers from 2001 that have not even, they can't be updated with patches because they don't have patches for these anymore. And so these guys are sitting ducks for any low-level hacker to be able to come in. I mean, a kid out of high school could hack into these hospitals, but there is a tremendous effort to go after these hospitals right now. We've seen ransomware that has shut down hospitals, and where hospitals have had to pay millions of dollars to get their data back. And by the way, after they pay to get their data back, usually the data they get back is corrupted.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the other thing too is this, Barry, and this is a lot more, I would say, terrifying, is that we know that there is a contingent that wants to get information on our body makeup, and it's coming out of China. They want to get what our DNA is. They want this because knowing how there is definitely a weapon of mass destruction that they're trying to develop. And when it comes to their development of AI and quantum computing, and you put in there some things like what Chi Hodian said back in 2003, who was the head of their military at the time, that they're developing a biological weapon that would not kill the Chinese people, but it would kill the Americans.
Oh, that's so diabolical.
Breaches of 23andMe. I actually now think about this. I got a Christmas present from my mother to do this 23andMe thing, and we talked about this on our show, and I was pretty excited about that whole thing. And I did learn a lot of great information. It was really cool. I saw my mom pop up as my mother immediately. That was a relief. But I found out recently that 23andMe got breached by the Chinese.
Wow. Yeah.
And so they actually have my DNA now.
I imagine finding out that they're seeing pictures of a clone of me that's enslaved in China.
He's in a lithium mine right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're whipping them.
Yeah, it sounds really horrible.
But he's got a great sense of humor and he's good looking. But yeah, so this hospital thing, there's a reason why they're going after these hospitals. And our company doesn't focus mostly on hospitals because healthcare is really in a quagmire right now.
Yes.
And, they've got so many things that are going on that they're in a perfect state of vulnerability for these attackers, and they better get their head on their shoulders, because this healthcare information is a lot more valuable than we think it is.
Agreed.
And not to mention your social security number is all tied to your healthcare stuff, and they can steal your identity and all those kinds of things. But yeah, pretty wild stuff going on out there.
I want to talk about this is some current event stuff, but it's current events that I think we need to talk about, and we need to bring some awareness to that. And before we actually wind up, because we're going to have to do that fairly soon. We've been going a little long today, and that's fine. It's been a long time coming. And winding up, I got a TV show I want to talk about that you're going to enjoy talking about. And then there's a new short TV series that it's going to tickle you in a different way. But what I wanted to talk about was Biden's new student forgiveness.
So glad you brought that up. Yeah.
This is income redistribution to the highest order. And he's talking, is it right? Did I read this right? $500 billion being dispersed, I think.
Well, it's interesting because the experts from the administration are hemming and hawing on those numbers because they've been asked to directly how much it's going to cost. The latest numbers that I saw were $326 billion this year. This fiscal year coming up, which starts in September. And then after that, over 10 years, another $326 billion. So we're looking at nearly $700 billion, $650 billion. Nothing.
It's so egregious and we are into the Ukraine for, we approve $40 billion overall in aid, and all of Europe is about $6 billion. And I think Germany tops out the lauded German economy. I think they topped out at about 1.2 billion. Yeah. We're in for 40 billion and it's their problem. How is this justified? Now, I know that we fall for immediately the whole, the poor underdogs, the poor Ukrainians and all that. I get that. I do get that. But Merle, I saw a 20-minute video of Rand Paul addressing Congress, and the most eloquent thing that I ever have seen. Now, this guy's a doctor. He's really smart.
Right.
It's he tends to get a lot of flack for being a little strange or something.
Does, yeah.
But my God, I've seen him say some really smart stuff. And he was the only one that had a common sense approach to Fauci as well.
I agree.
But what he said, and he went on for about 20 minutes, and he was talking about how he was quoting some famous politicians from years gone by. I don't remember the names and instances, but I remember that one instance many years ago, decades ago. He was talking about it may have been close to 100 years ago. It was like ancient, his whole argument was based on historical facts, like a good lawyer would do. And he said this politician, it could have been someone on the level of Abe Lincoln or something, but said that this woman, she lost her husband horrifically in war. And she was in dire straits, and Congress wanted to grant her some money, and taxpayer money. And this famous politician went up and gave a famous speech, eloquently put, that said he also felt what they were feeling about this woman, but they don't have any constitutional right to give her $1 of taxpayer money. It is not their money to give. He said that repeatedly. It is not your money to give. He said, however, I am going to give up 1 week of my salary and give it to her. And if all of you do the same, then we will have all of the impact that you intend on this woman. Of course, that didn't happen. He gave up a week of his salary. The point was made very eloquently, though. The student forgiveness debt thing And even the Ukrainian thing, it's not, it should be held to public vote to some degree, but they're just throwing billions and trillions of dollars around of our money left and right. And I'm angry about it. I'm beyond angry. I want everybody to get angry about this.
I think I'm angry about it too for many different reasons. And I hear your point about the Ukraine. I guess it's not the Ukraine, it's Ukraine, but I hear your point about
the Ukraine.
Yeah, now it's Ukraine, whatever.
It was Kiev. Now it's Kyiv.
Now it's Kyiv. Right. It's funny how these things
change. It was Demi Moore. Now it's Demi.
Yeah, Demi. Sounds like dummy to me, but whatever.
But let me hear your thoughts on that.
Well, this is infuriating in so many different ways, because first off, when you think about these college students that need the debt forgiveness, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, we really hadn't done this before. And why aren't these people like employed and working to be able to pay off their debt, since the unemployment rate is so low? That's what they tell us. Or is it that they're going to college and they're really not learning anything except for woke politics, and nobody wants to hire them when they get out? So I guess to me, this speaks to the quality of education that's actually happening out there, is that if you're going to college and you can't pay off your student loans, it seems to me that college is not preparing people to be able to work those higher level jobs anymore.
It's true. Our parents are doing a shitty job too.
And to complicate things, there's a history of every time the federal government infuses money into these colleges, two things happen. One is it gives them a higher measure of control over what the curriculum is, who gets hired and who gets fired. And number two, what we've seen, actually three things. We've seen the level of education go plummet as a result.
Yes.
And the third thing is prices go up. Okay, so I mean, it's just like this bill that passed into law that was going to give you a credit when you buy an electric car. Ford Motor Company just came out and said, yeah, it's a $8,000 credit that you're going to get. They just raised the price of their Ford truck, the Lightning, the electric car, by $8,000. And they said it was because of rising battery costs. But we know it's because the federal government's going to infuse up to $10,000 in it. By the way, I know I'm getting down a rabbit hole. Today, I learned that those batteries cost about $25,000 each. Think about that's going to be your car battery.
Yeah. Didn't California just mandate electric cars? Forbade the sale of combustion.
Yes, so that just passed yesterday, and so by 2035, it's going to be all electric cars. But that's going to happen nationwide. The banks are already talking about not giving loans for fossil fuel cars starting now. So this is good. You're going to be forced into this no matter what. But I got down.
I know, because I can bring this right back, because the other thing that needs to be said about this whole debt forgiveness thing is, I think we could generally get on board with it if it was if it was proceeded with, we are doing a reform of this system because it's out of control. Like the $100,000 in student debt, to saddle a kid with that is ridiculous. And here is where it went wrong, and here's how we're going to reform it. No, none of that was even spoken of. No. So what's going to happen is now this is a new precedent. Yeah. Well, it'll make it worse, but now this is our precedent. We're all supposed to just keep feeding them this money. Good. Oh, I lost you there.
Yeah, and here's and I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I get that. That's exactly right, Barry. Mm-hmm. And not only that, have you ever had a loan or debt forgiven like that?
No.
For anything? Me neither.
No.
Me neither. Right. And by the way, I paid my own way through college.
Yeah, I paid a great deal of mine. Yeah.
And I saw somebody talking to Elizabeth Warren and saying, "Hey, you know, I saved up my money all my life, and I put my kids through college." Yeah, and
he was
when
mad.
do I get my money back? She says, "Certainly not." Just like with no feeling or anything. It's just certainly not.
There's everything wrong with this.
How unfair is it? How is this justice to just give a windfall to people when it was their choice to do this in the first place? Nobody forced them into doing this.
I want to say that I think that we definitely should have compassion, because we are told that you're not going to go anywhere in life without that piece of paper. And all of a sudden, literally all of a sudden, we learn that they're not learning crap in college, right, and paying extraordinary amounts of money for that piece of paper. So I feel for them.
I feel for them too.
So I'm saying,
but I don't want to pay for it.
Agreed. But the reform comes first,
right?
You know, take action.
Yeah. Do the thing that's going to fix this. This doesn't fix it, and
it makes it
here's
worse.
The other thing is that in the face of the the Inflation Reduction Act, we're going to add another nearly $700 billion to the deficit. And where does that money come from? It gets printed.
Okay,
machine. So get this. The Inflation Reduction Act over 10 years is going to save, they say, over about $100 billion in inflation. But then you add a $700 billion to that erases all but 600. Now you're 600 billion in the hole on this thing that was going to reduce inflation. And I'm sorry, this will cause inflation. And I just want to review something really quickly.
Go ahead.
America has the money we have in this country is set. You can't invent money. You can't print money. That's alchemy. You can print it, but it doesn't invent more value.
Right.
And so we only have this. My analogy is the value is a piece of pizza. It's a pizza. Okay. Wow. That's all. Now, if you print more money in this 8-slice pizza, you don't get another pizza with 8 slices. You've actually cut the slices into 16 slices. Mm-hmm. And so now you eat the piece of pizza and you just don't get full. You need more pizza now. Mm-hmm. And this is happening. So every time they do this, guess what happens to my investments? What happens to my savings is they become less valuable. So really what's happening is they're reaching into yours and my savings and investment and our paycheck, and they're commandeering it for themselves. Now think about that. That's an interesting thing, because they're the ones that printed the money that drove inflation anyhow, and none of us can print money, only they can. So they can hedge their bet by taxing you more, but you can't do that. So this is an interesting snowball at the top of the mountain that gains momentum. That's happened to other countries like Venezuela.
Yeah,
I'm seeing this thing happening.
You know what? I mean, this is our economy is so tied to the world economy. This could play into that whole premonition that woman had.
That's
that
exactly
we discussed.
Right, Barry.
The World Bank collapsing and going to crypto. Yeah.
So there's this thing called modern monetary theory. Look it up. Modern monetary theory. I just read about this last week. And in modern monetary theory, it is the principle that the government can print as much money as they want to. Mm-hmm. And when they print that money, what they end up doing is having to pass higher taxes in order to cover those expenses that they have, because they've caused inflation. So now their expenses are higher. So they have to tax you more, which cuts into, like, if you're getting a paycheck, you're saving 10%, let's say, but now you're getting taxed 10% more. So now you can't save or invest. And so this becomes like a huge tick on a dog that sucks all the blood right out of the dog, a la Venezuela.
Because it's not just taxes, the inflation. It's like double taxation, because the inflation, like right now, we are paying so much more money for everything. I don't care that gas went down 50 cents or 75 cents, because I go to the grocery store and coffee has doubled, popcorn is freaking doubled. I mean, just the amount of things. So anyways.
Well, modern monetary theory means that they're doing that on purpose. And when you add in that thing that this woman talked about with the crypto, then when you look at it, it's like they're forcing us into that scenario by doing this. And that gives them the worldwide control that they're looking to be able to attain here through social credit scores and things like that. And now they have completed the cycle. And think about what Charles Schwab of the World Economic Forum says in his book, The Great Reset. By 2030, you'll own nothing and love it. So
that's not Charles Schwab. That's
it's Schwab.
It's Klaus.
Klaus. Did I say Charles?
Yeah. You didn't implicate the wrong dude entirely.
Well, Charles is dead. He doesn't care.
Yeah, it's that guy that dresses like a spaceman.
Yeah, he's Klaus Schwab. He's the evil Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
Schwab. And he's from Germany too, so he's got the evil German kind of thing going on and all. And he is a scary guy, but if you start looking at some of the people around this guy, like for instance, I started listening to one of his key advisors, Barry, and this guy's name is Yuval Noah Harari. He's a doctor from Israel, and he is one of Klaus Schwab's top advisors. And interestingly, Barry, his specialty is transhumanism. And I would challenge you to listen to some of the things that he's saying, because what he's talking about is being able to hack into somebody's brain and control them and control their desires and control their activity and control everything. And so, like, as I see, like, as we've talked about this transhumanism, if it's not in the hands of these kinds of people, I could see how it has a chance, but these people are making some serious plans regarding that. And so again, it's Yuval Harari. I don't think that one of his quotes is that God is dead. It just takes a little bit longer for his body to die. And then he talks about how this whole thing about it's like an analogy to people that are guided by religious faith, and that really this is all just fiction, but what we want to be the ones to guide through this type of thing. And so, in other words, they've got the God complex, obviously, and they want to be your God according to this top advisor. So these are things that the world needs to know about, because there are good things. I mean, when you take a look at what Elon Musk is doing with this whole thing and trying to help
Neuralink.
people. I mean, I could.
We're close to that.
He's talking about are so good, but in the hands of the wrong people, it's tyranny. And
for sure, I heard an engineer talking about this, and I don't remember where or who the guy was. A really smart dude. Maybe it was a Rogan thing, but it was this guy was addressing AI and what can come about in the future. And of course, we think nothing but horror stories about AI, as you're talking about there. And he goes, it's kind of like when you build a bridge. He goes, you don't build a bridge and then hope it doesn't fall down. You pretty much start with the premise that it needs to stay up.
Right.
And he goes, that's what you have. That's how AI has to be addressed as well, is that you know that there's a chance that it could overtake the world in an evil manner. So that's where you start. And so it was a hopeful way of looking at that. But I think that we're at a pinnacle where AI is probably the only hope we have in overcoming these kind of evil bastards you're talking about. Like, it has to win before they do. And
well, I see it similarly too, Barry. I see that if they have AI, we need AI to be able to beat them. We're not going to be able to beat them without.
It's the same as quantum. we need to win the space race before they do. Same thing.
That's exactly right. So this is the difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
A peacekeeper says, "Oh, don't get involved in any kind of conflict," because those people always get killed. The peacemaker is the ones that says, "Okay, this is how it is, and if you cross this line, God help you." And so we need to be peacemakers in this world, because the evil part of the world, and there's evil in the world, it wants to take over. And this is I see transhumanism as a way that people can become free or enslaved, and it's up to however we let it happen. But my concern is you take a look at this cabal, and I call it that, at the World Economic Forum. These people own almost all of the hedge funds, and the hedge funds are dictating what every one of these publicly traded companies are doing these days, because they own all of them.
Right.
It's pretty crazy stuff, man. But look into that Yuval Harari. That's an interest. That guy's got to go.
Yeah, totally agree with you. All right, we need to lighten up now.
Well, wait,
you got something? Go ahead.
Well, before we lighten it up, I just had one other thing that I found really interesting. I actually have two things, and then let's wrap up. But number one, again, in preparation for this, because we were talking about the debt forgiveness, I just did a review of the Constitution last night, because I thought it was really interesting that Joe Biden could forgive debt up to this amount of money. And that's a lot. It's a lot of money, right? So I went into Article 1 and Article 2 of the Constitution, and it's very clear. The president has no control over the purse strings. Only Congress does. So where does this money come from if it's not a legislative act? And the Article 1 makes it very clear that in order to extract money from the national treasury, there has to be a law written. And it says in Article 1 that all legislation happens in our Congress. So how is it that, Obama did the same thing. How is it that Biden could pull that kind of huge amount of money and just make an executive order out of it that seems highly unconstitutional?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And there's something called judicial review that the Supreme Court has the ability to come in after laws are passed in, or bills are passed into law, to do a judicial review to make sure that it's constitutional. So I see this law being in trouble. And I also know that the people that put this together absolutely understand that, and that this is really all about getting the votes right before the midterm.
Well, I thought that all along. So you're saying for the midterm, but you're saying that this actually might not go through?
I'm saying that it looks like the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court does what it's supposed to do, they'll reverse this. And that's absolutely right. And we've seen this throughout history.
Okay, well, that's good news, but it's also such manipulative.
The Supreme Court works very slowly, though, Barry, as you and I have seen recently. So this will go through for a period of time, and already what we're seeing is that companies are making shifts. Like Ford Motor Company is looking at laying off between 3,000 and 10,000 people. They've notified the employees that are at risk right now because of the Inflation Reduction Act, which places so much value in shifting things over to green energy. They're having to lay these people off that are creating and manufacturing fossil fuel cars because they're not going to need them anymore.
Well, I tell you, we better get moving on some nuclear power plants.
I agree with you on that. I totally agree, because this whole green energy thing on its face, it falls on its face without the nuclear reactors, because there's no backup to wind and solar.
Right. And it takes a minimum of 5 years to build one. So they better get going.
If you have cloudy days and it's not, if you have a cloudy day and it's not windy, there's no energy.
I just saw yesterday, so I think a Turkish engineer came up with it. There's these cylinders that they're putting along freeways and different things like that. So these cars go by, they're like a windmill premise.
I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah. And they go spinning around and generate energy. Those cars are going to keep going anyway.
Yeah. It's like those little windmills when we were kids, right? Yeah. I've seen that.
Not really. Cool. They're actually very vertical. The whole thing's vertical. So they're long fans that go in like a cylinder fashion.
Yes, that's pretty
it's interesting.
Cool. I love the concept there of that.
It's
whole
still
thing.
Probably going to supply like an extra 2% for that particular region. You know what I mean? So, yes. but those kinds of ingenious kind of things need to continue to keep cropping up.
I agree. And just the thing is, here in our government needs to open up their minds to new innovation. Like it can't just be all pigeonholed into your favorite little things that your kids are the CEOs of these companies that are going to get rich. So you open up your mind here. Where there's a will, there's a way here. And we all need to come to the table on this. Right. I got one more thing, Barry.
Go ahead.
Last night I was just doing some research, and this is interesting. I was looking at the size of armies that are in the European Union. I'm going to make a point here, but just check this out. The Italian army is 101,000 troops. The French army is 109,000. The German army is 60,000. The Polish army is 77,000, and the British army is 80,000. Oh, let's just talk about real quick. The Danish army, 1,250. The Australian army, 30,000. Well, the plan that just got passed and signed by Joe Biden, and he handed the pen over to Manchin in a weird scene, adds 87,000 new tax collectors to the IRS, right? And they're going to be armed, and many will carry AR-15s. This is what I mean. Look, the Australian army has 30,000 people. This is 87,000. What
I'm going to push you back on one thing. I don't believe many are going to be carrying AR-15s.
No, I don't know that they are. But here's the thing about the AR-15s is that while they're trying to get rid of AR-15s, they exempted that for the IRS.
Okay.
So that I'm not saying they're all going to be carrying that, but they're going to be carrying weapons, and some may be carrying AR-15s. I just found it interesting that they decided to leave that open for them. And at the same time, their whole thing was defund the police, and the IRS is not a police force. So all of this is
IRS has been weaponized already for a very long time, and we could dismantle them if we go to the fair tax system.
And really, if you start looking at I totally agree with you, and that's what we need to do. By the way, the head of the IRS came out yesterday. Stop saying all of this misinformation about the IRS. We're not going to audit you if you're making less than $400,000.
BS, total BS. Right, we all know that they're it's just more.
What are they gonna do with all those guys? You know how big the IRS is right now? They have 77,000 employees in the IRS, and so they're more than doubling the size right here. Which I mean, you got to put some of these things into perspective. That's why I looked at those armies, because this seems like an army that we're putting into this country.
Agreed. All
right, that's it.
Okay. Well, on the heels of that, I have a great new TV show, a recommendation for you. Ready for it?
I am.
All right. It's called A Gutsy Move. And
I don't know if I want to watch this show.
Buddy, I don't think many people will watch this. So I pulled up
hilarious.
All right, so I pulled up an entertainment, EW.com article on A Gutsy Move. Hillary and Chelsea Clinton get real on their new TV series. So it's a short series. I read through this quickly. I think there's eight-part docu-series. Oh, I'm sure that's full of all kinds of facts.
Boy, this is going to be great.
Look at that. Oh, this is so cringy. Oh, so cringy. And this is one of the only articles that EW, I like to take a look at EW because they usually have comments at the end, and they have the comments turned off on this one.
That's funny too.
Isn't that funny and telling? This thing is, who convinced them to put money behind that?
I know, but I guarantee people are going to watch that. And
there'll be a select few. It'll be a small. The numbers will be dismal. Speaking of dismal numbers, this is totally off base, but CNN finally fired Brian Stitt Stelter.
Yeah. Yep. They sure did.
Yeah. So they're trying
George
to get
Costanza.
Clean. Yeah.
You know, that guy is not even 35 years old.
Is that right?
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah. Now,
okay.
In all seriousness, I do have a really good TV recommendation. This is one serious. I've been watching it. No, I'm not going to. Okay. Along the lines of Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
You know, you like that one?
Loved that one.
All right. This one's going to be familiar in some ways, but I think it'll be new to you as well. And this is a show on AMC, though. I caught it on Prime. It's called Kevin Can F Himself. Do you recognize her, dude? That's
I know her from somewhere.
Yeah, from Schitt's Creek.
That is her. Okay, she's
Alexa. She stars in this show. Let me tell you about the innovative plot here. And I love innovative plots.
You do. You're very cerebral when it comes to that. That's one thing I really love about your taste.
Thank you. It's just that everybody's remaking everything because nobody has a new idea and all this. Well, okay. So take a look at that picture you see there.
That set looks like the All in the Family set,
which also looks like exactly like in it for the same reason.
Married with Children.
You could take that one as well because they're all the same. But this is based on Kevin James, King of Queens.
Oh yeah, King of Queens. Yeah.
All right, think King of Queens. You see that guy in the middle there?
Looks a lot like Kevin James.
That's the role that he plays. And here's his father, and there's his friends, his little group. And Annie Murphy stars as the wife because you got to have the fat guy with the pretty wife.
Right. Yeah.
And so this guy's obnoxious and he's self-centered. It's everything that King of Queens was, but you didn't realize. So listen to this, Merle. This is how innovative it is. So it's this brightly colored set, just like this, complete with laugh tracks. So he says obnoxious, self-centered stuff like he's so dumb and he doesn't realize how insensitive he's being and self-centered and all that. And the audience laughs and all that. And then she'll go walk in the kitchen or something. And then you follow her, right? And it's dim, unsaturated color set. It's dark. Because this is reality. So she pulls out of the set and she's like, I can't stand this guy anymore. And so she's
awesome.
Dude, she's planning to kill him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's this whole play back and forth between this fake reality and then the real reality.
Oh my gosh.
She befriends the other girl on the set, pulls her. They go back and forth from these two realities. It's wild, man.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
So this is on AMC?
Well, you could catch it on Amazon Prime. The first.
Oh, what is this called again?
It's Kevin could go F himself.
How do I forget that? I just wanted to hear you say that again.
It's so wild, man. It's so wild. It's so different. And so I looked it up. The second season, that's kind of brilliant what AMC does. It did, and a lot of people do that. AMC just came out like yesterday with season 2. Now, so I want to go find how I can go get on AMC so I can see season 2 because.
Oh, that's right. You gotta pay for that too. Yeah.
How season 1 ends is wild.
So you gotta see season 2.
Yeah, wow, but I'm telling you, gotta see this.
Okay, cool. I can't wait to see it.
It'll take a couple episodes before it really gets going, but once it gets going, it's like, oh, whoa, it's a wild ride.
Barry, some of the recommendations you've made have been just stellar. I have really enjoyed some of these. You turned me on to Dope Sick. That was an incredible documentary and such great acting. Michael Keaton was over the top in his element, though.
Yes,
on that one. He did such a great job. I could feel that it's a true story of what happened. But and of course we watched what's the show this girl was on again?
Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek was great. I loved that one.
Yeah.
But you turned me on to The Boys recently.
Oh, right.
And I'm telling you that's crazy, man. I've turned to several people onto that, and they're just like, that's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
That's innovative. Innovative.
It is very innovative. It really speaks to our time in many, many different ways. And one of my friends that's been watching it, we were talking about Homelander, and you have to watch the show to get this, but he was like, well, you know, even though he's the bad guy, I kind of like him. And it's like, well, that's because he's a product of it's not his fault that he's like that. They made him.
You can feel sorry for him on some level.
Yeah, you feel some kind of compassion for this poor soul.
And by the way, The Boys is basically the Justice League superheroes, but are manufactured by the government, and they're really not that good. And Homelander is evil Superman, and he is super destructive, murderous, and dangerous.
He's a megalomaniac is what he is. And but he doesn't even really know it.
He doesn't know it because he's basically got borderline personality disorder because of the way he was raised.
Right.
I mean,
that's exactly right. It goes back to the parents once again.
There you go. It always even in fiction land.
There's such wisdom in this show like that, though. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. This is a show. I mean, some of the things that happen on this show are like, I have to wash my eyes out now that I saw that, and I can't go back in time and unsee that.
And they talk about in the writers' room as they try to in this season, how do we like top the gross out factor?
I don't know how they did, but the story is so compelling, much like a Quentin Tarantino movie that has all this violence. I'm not into that, but somehow he makes it so compelling. And it's sort of this comic book thing that this show actually has that same quality to it.
Yeah, with all of those underpinnings of the corruption of today.
That's right.
It speaks to it.
It's really well written. Really well written.
It is.
And that's one of the first shows that you turned me on to was Moonlighting. And when we first became friends.
And, college.
I remember you were like, we got to watch this show. I'm like, Moonlighting, that doesn't sound good. That's how I would make judgments on titles. If I didn't like the theme music, change the channel. And I remember after the first episode, I was hooked, and it was like every Tuesday night we'd make like dinner, make sure it's ready, but it's coming on.
It was Tuesday, right.
Again, a very cerebral kind. It was
creative,
thoughtful comedy.
It was creative.
That's the kind I like too.
Right. You got anything more? Should we wind up?
No, this has been great. I love what we did here. And I'm looking forward to the next time. And I just want to say again, what a beautiful and marvelous job you're doing. And God bless you, Barry.
Thank you, buddy. And hopefully we're right back here again next month and recapping.
Yep, you got it.
All right, buddy. I really got to run. Great show. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.